Welcome to the Best Wedding App podcast.
Swipe to the left, swipe to the right. The best wedding app brings your dreams to life.
The Best Wedding App.
On today's show, we have WA-based stylist, the modern romantic. Jade is the owner and creative director. She was fueled by a deep passion for working with style-conscious couples who crave a wedding day that will be etched in their guests' memories for years to come. With meticulous attention to detail, the modern romantic crafts personalized and stunning spaces that are purposely designed, drawing inspiration from old world romance and the sophistication of modern aesthetics. Welcome, Jade.
Thanks, Karis. I love that intro. It's beautiful. Thanks for having me on.
It's your words, my love. I went to your website and it's so beautiful. Look, the last time we saw each other, you lived in Melbourne. Yes. And now you live in the oh so sunny and warm Perth. So nice. Jade, I'm so interested in a little bit about your background and experience in wedding planning and styling. Tell me how you got started.
Yeah, so I've been in business for about 4 years now, which time has flown really quickly. I originally have a background in fashion, so that's sort of where my creative my background in just creative work started. I've always had a love for fashion and textiles, and just fashion in general, and I love colors, and I just love the creative process of developing a concept and sort of seeing it come to life. I think one day I just decided that I really wanted to work for myself. And I think I developed a little bit of an obsession for weddings after I got into a very early relationship. And I thought that I was dreaming about my own wedding when I discovered that there was this whole world of weddings that people could actually create themselves as a business. I, hadn't even really thought of that as a career path. So I think that's sort of how I stumbled into it. And one day I started an Instagram and an idea, and all of a sudden people were trusting me to create weddings for them and bring their wedding dreams to life, which was absolutely amazing how it just started from this little idea. And 4 years later, we're doing back-to-back weddings, and we're creating all different sizes and of weddings from small to big, and it's been amazing.
Beautiful. So when you said this early relationship, I hope you didn't scare the person off.
No, we're married now. So
and when did you style and coordinate your own wedding before you actually got into the business of wedding planning? Or did they happen at the same time?
No, so I think it started with a bit of a Pinterest hole. Okay. A deep dive, and then I think I was sort of, I'd gotten into this relationship, and then I was sort of having this career, this career block where I wasn't really sure where I was going. So I studied fashion and textiles at uni. Actually, first of all, I studied, I did a Bachelor of Arts, and I did French and sociology. And when I finished that, je parle un peu. After that, or in my last year, I was about 20, and I just thought, I just don't know where I'm going from here. And someone told me that you've got a knack for fashion, you should really get into fashion. And so that's how I ended up studying fashion and textiles, and I thought I wanted to do visual merchandising from there. I was working in retail at the time, and I was at uni, so I thought, look, I'll stay in retail and I'll sort of make my way up, and I'll get into visual merchandising. I was really tactile, love being hands-on, I love sort of putting things together, but I never really thought of events. And I think after a few different things fell into place, I actually didn't get the job that I wanted in visual merchandising, so I got rejected. And I think that made me go back to the drawing board and thinking what I'm going to do next. I actually stayed in retail for a little bit, and then I got a job at Cotton On in product development. So I was kind of started working in the fashion industry from there. But I think on the side, I still wanted to pursue a creative path. Even
Yeah.
though I was working in fashion, it was still very admin based rather
Yeah.
than really, I wanted to create things for myself that I was really passionate about. And then, yeah, I think being in a relationship, thinking about getting married one day, I think I sort of was started to think about how my own wedding would be one day. And this is probably, about 5 or 6 years ago. Before I kind of started the business, this really just started as an idea. And at the same time, I think I sort of started jumping in to try and say, oh, it's your birthday. I'll organize a birthday for you. I did surprise birthdays for friends, trying to put flowers together myself. I think I did my sister-in-law's engagement party. I did a balloon garland, and just like little events from there that I jumped on to do. I really started to think I could really do this. And instead of sort of moving away from dreaming about my own wedding, I thought, you know what, I could actually create weddings for other people, and maybe they would pay me, and then maybe this could actually be a legitimate business idea. So that's sort of
You're the
how
friend
it
everybody
started.
wants. Someone's gonna plan their party for them. It's like a dream.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So beautiful. And tell me, so some people don't know exactly what a planner and a stylist and a coordinator are. So can you break down what the structure of those services are and how they differ?
Yeah, so a wedding planner is really all encompassing. Every planner still there varies. Their services do vary a little bit, but the general understanding of a planner is they look after absolutely everything when it comes to organizing your wedding, setting up your wedding, dealing with vendors. So that's everything from the very start in terms of looking at your catering, your venue, helping you choose all of your vendors, music, photography, working on your guest list, helping with your invites, managing your dietary. So it's just really everything, all from the very start. Some planners offer part planning, so they'll come in a little bit later on, and they'll help you to tie up all your loose ends in terms of planning, and then sourcing vendors, and also putting your concept together and doing the aesthetics of the day. A stylist is very much focused on just the concept, and the visual concept and the aesthetics of the styling. And then a stylist will create your visual concept and then go out and source all of those vendors who will bring that visual concept to life. They're not really focusing too much on the logistics or vendors. So that's how they differ in terms of a wedding planner. Some couples want everything rolled into one package from the very beginning. They really want someone to guide them from the very start. Some couples are very organized and they know who they want in terms of photographer. They've got their venue, they've got a lot of their main vendors locked in, and they really want someone to just make their wedding really beautiful and a really interesting experience for their guests. So that's why they'll sort of engage in a stylist. And then the next is a coordinator that really deals with just on the day logistics. So they will still organize your run sheets and your logistical plans, but they'll really come in a little bit just before the wedding. And then they have a little bit of a shorter lead time, and then they're really focused on just the events of the day.
And some people really have no concept of what a big job that is. You know, I have lots of clients that are like, oh, we're just going to DIY and we're just going to do our own flowers, and I'm going to make my own cake, and we're going to put the centerpieces together. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, you do understand that the day of your wedding, you have to get your hair and makeup done. And that will take hours, and you won't have time to go to the venue to do your flowers and your table settings. And so I think it's really great to break those things down. And sometimes people obviously don't have the budget for everything, but it's lovely to know that, okay, well, I don't want to do those things on the day. Who can do that for me? Or, you know, the other side of the coin is couples that are really time poor, doctors and lawyers and people that have full-on jobs that don't have time for this. If you have the budget, hire someone, because it just takes a load off. And also with your expertise, you know all the vendors that you love to work with and who work together, and that just creates a beautiful experience for everybody. And sometimes people have no understanding of that in and of itself, you know, how important it is for people to know each other and to work together.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the very least, having a coordinator is really massive because, and it's generally the smallest sort of offering of, having a planner, a stylist, or a coordinator. Not everybody offers coordination as a standalone, but I think if there's any service that you're going to engage in just to ensure that your wedding day runs smoothly, and then you can take a step back and really just enjoy the day itself, is having a coordinator. Another thing that couples can get a little confused about is the difference between a venue coordinator and an external coordinator. A lot of my couples say, well, I've already got a venue coordinator, so I don't need a coordinator. And, there are some really amazing venues that have some very, very dedicated venue coordinators. It's not always the case for every single venue, and a lot of venues are doing a very high number of weddings. And so, they may pick up your file 2 months before the wedding to do your, final guest count and check in with you. But ahead of that 2 months, they don't know you. They don't know your wedding planning journey. They're not across everything, and they're sort of just picking up your folder and just, crossing things off and making sure they're ticking their boxes according to what needs to happen at the venue.
Definitely.
But whereas engaging in a wedding coordinator, they're really on that journey with you from the beginning. And so even though they may not be doing the work until a little bit closer to the actual wedding itself, they're in your corner, and they know what's happening with you personally. So, we can really anticipate any issues, changes on the day. We're really there to advocate for the couple with their vendors and making sure they get what they want, and just having a really general understanding of the couple's dynamics and them as people, really, which is such an important thing.
For sure. Now, sometimes people have no idea what they want their wedding to look like, and they may have like one flower that they love and then come to you. So how do you approach the process of creating a wedding vision with your clients?
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a general process that everybody goes through when they book us. So our discovery process with a couple really begins even before the booking stage. So when they engage with me, we set up an initial discovery call, and this really helps me to sort of almost screen and qualify a couple in a way to make sure that we're a really good match, which I think is really important, because I always say, when I jump on the phone with a couple, I say, this is like we are getting into a relationship. This could be a year-long relationship, could even be 18 months. On a rare occasion, it's even 2 years. So it's really important that we we really get along, and we really see eye to eye, and we understand each other really well, and I have a clear understanding of what they want. And even before our call, I'll ask a couple to send through some inspiration photos, so that when we jump on the call, I can kind of see where their head's at. And even if that's one photo and it's, I like these flowers, it just tells me where their head's at, what they're sort of looking for in terms of aesthetic. And I have a knack for being able to draw out a concept really quickly from just a few elements that someone likes, their venue and a photo, and I can already kind of piece together a few ideas. So that's sort of the initial process. And then once a couple want to lock me in and they book me, they start going through the onboarding process, which is one of my favorite parts of the initial process, because we send out a questionnaire, and it really deep dives into the couple's relationship, their likes and their dislikes around their wedding day, any things surrounding their family that we have to note. It just really gets to know them really quickly before we may have even met in person. And then ahead of meeting them, I already have a really good understanding of their family dynamics, who they are as people, what they love to do, how they love to spend time together. And that helps me to start to personalize the concept of their wedding and, what's important to them.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so amazing. Makes me want to plan another party. I had a 40th, which And I sort of, plan the aesthetic myself, but there's just so much in weddings. And I think, it is nice. If I had the budget, I definitely would go down your path because it just takes such a load off. When obviously there's lots of different planners, stylists, and coordinators, what do you recommend people look for in someone to book? People come in all shapes and sizes and budgets, etc. So I guess what I'm saying is, what sets you apart, and why would you recommend that people sort of go down your path, or what would you recommend people look for in a stylist or a coordinator?
Yeah, so I think personally, after you get engaged and you're thinking about planning your wedding, and this comes with all of your vendors in general, or ones that you especially have, you have to spend a lot of personal time with on the wedding day and leading up to the wedding day, I think that you should try and sort of follow their socials for a little bit and just get a little bit of an understanding of them as a person, or what they represent as a business, to sort of see if that aligns with you and your partner. I think that, you should really love their work. And I think this helps when booking them, that you already sort of have a good understanding of them as a business, so that you are able to trust them and what they do and their work, and trust that they're going to create something really wonderful for you, or they're going to do an amazing job for you. I think what I feel sets me apart is I provide a very personal service, and I really like to get to know the couple quite personally. And often in times this means that, I end up remaining friends with one of the partners that I do most of the planning with post wedding. And I have so many brides and grooms who still support me on my social media so much. A year after their wedding, they've had a baby, they've moved on from the wedding, but they're still on there saying, that's amazing, like, well done, we're so happy for you, and they're encouraging me. And that's because I've created such an amazing rapport. They've had such a great time planning their wedding with me that they almost never wanted it to end, and they're still there just cheering me on from the sidelines as if they were friends. And that's really amazing. I think that really shows the genuine connection that I've been able to create with them. And I feel that when I create that genuine connection, and that really all starts again from that initial call that we have to see, how well we, hit it off, how we're going to get along. And that's so important. Yeah, that's so important to me. And I feel that's so important to the couple as well, to create that trust. So I think that's where I differ. Even though I feel that I can create these beautiful weddings for people, I think it's the personal element that goes so far.
Totally. And this is what I say a lot to my my clients when they think about different vendors. I always say, meet them and see if you like their personality, because you're going to spend a lot of time with this person. So if your personalities don't jive, and you don't like, maybe someone's a real extrovert and you're an introvert or whatever, it is so important that you really get along with that person. And from working with you, I can say, you're such a beautiful person. It's lovely.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It's always lovely to work with you. Here's a funny one. So some people have obviously, they know what you do behind the scenes, etc. But like on the wedding day itself, what do you wear? What's your role? What are you doing? What can couples expect from you on the actual day once all the behind the scenes things have been done? Run me through that.
Yeah, so the actual day itself, there's so much involved. So the day-to-day of my business is just myself behind the scenes. But on the day, I will have a team of trusted freelancers that I have worked with a number of times, helping me to bring the day together, because these weddings do not happen by themselves. They take a team, and there's meticulous planning that comes before the day, so that my team can execute the day perfectly, just as we planned with the couple. On the day itself, I usually get into the venue super early. I'm there to start receiving deliveries, checking off that things were delivered the days before. I have a delivery plan, so I go through that and I'm just checking off that everything is covered. We begin the setup. If the couple are on site, I usually like to go and check in with them and say hi the morning of the wedding, see how they're going, give them a little pep talk. And then, yeah, I'm back and I'm to the wedding and I am setting up there in my gym gear, doing hard yards to bring it all to life. And then just before the wedding starts, I will change into my coordinating outfit, and I love to be able to greet family and friends at the ceremony, touch base with the celebrant. Some of my couples now are getting married at the church, so they'll often be there, and I'll still be ready at the venue to greet all their guests when they arrive. But if you're having a ceremony on site, I'll be present at the ceremony, helping to sort of run that and work back with the celebrant on the proceedings of this ceremony. And then I'll usually let the celebrant run the ceremony because that's what they do best, and I'll be preparing the next stage of the day. So I'm always sort of that one step ahead, ensuring that canapes are ready for guests when they're finished the ceremony. I'm keeping an eye on the couple to make sure they're where they need to be. So I'm just always that sort of little person in the background, the shadow, that's making sure that all the strings are being pulled nicely. I'm working back with the venue, I'm working back with any vendors that are working, and I'm always checking the plan that we have put in place for the day to make sure everything is on time. And if it's not, because things can naturally happen, hiccups can occur, I've done this so many times that I know how to sort of adjust and be flexible to make sure that we're back on track and everything runs smoothly, and the couple just get to float throughout their day, enjoy, and not have to look at the time or think about absolutely anything, but having a wonderful time.
And are you there till the very end, till pack down?
Yes, I am actually there to the very end. I stay throughout the whole thing. I make sure the couple take all the things home that they need to. They're very important. Take their money home from their wishing well. Make sure that gets into safe hands. That they get home safely. And I am there packing down the wedding. Sometimes I'll come back the next morning to pack down, just depending on where it is. In Perth, or in Western Australia, we have a lot of Margaret River weddings, which are actually 3 hours from the city. So that's quite a popular wedding destination. So next season we'll be driving down there, and we'll be staying down there 2 nights a few times during the wedding season. So wow. That's a big.
There's a lot. I think people have no concept of all of these behind the scenes things. So it's so lovely to break it down. Now, wedding trends are ever changing. How do you stay on top of things? How do you stay on top of what's the newest thing? Because every year there's a new thing and a new trend.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I think that I'm not always looking within the wedding industry to see what's on trend. I like to stay on top of what's happening in the world in general. And I guess I generally look to fashion and pop culture, because I think that there's a little bit of a trickle-down effect when it comes to, what a lot of people in pop culture wear, and looking at the interior of their houses and where they're traveling to. I think that plays a massive influence on what's popular in terms of interior design, even architecture and fashion. And then weddings are an interesting sort of microcosm. A trend can kind of come in, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing it, and it can go really hard and fast, and then I feel like it can exit really quickly. So I like to be able to pull influence from different places rather than just looking at what's on trend at the moment. And I think because weddings are seasonal too, you can kind of hop onto a trend a little bit late, and then all of a sudden you're planning weddings a year out, so whatever sort of you're looking at now in the wedding industry, next season that'll be gone. So I think it's easiest to look outside and try and anticipate what's next, and also looking at places like what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the US. I think it takes a couple season sometimes for that to be adopted here in Australia.
Yeah, definitely. What's your most memorable wedding?
Oh, this is a good one. So I had a little bit of thought about this the other day. I have two really memorable weddings. One of them in particular was for a couple that contacted me all the way from London. This was during COVID times, and they contacted me and they said, "Oh, we're planning our wedding from London, but we're planning to fly back to Melbourne for our wedding." And this was on and off. Borders open, borders closed, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be, we're going to be planning this wedding, but it's going to be really touch and go for them to be able to come back. And not only were they planning one wedding, they're actually planning two weddings. So I planned two weddings for them. We were dealing with planning over Zoom with a massive time difference. And the two weddings were on two different weekends. One weekend after the other, and the reason we had two weddings for them was because they both came from an Indian background, but one side of the family was Catholic and the other side was Hindu. So we had both a Catholic and a Hindu wedding, which was
beautiful,
incredible. And I was just I loved having this opportunity to do these two weddings for them. They were a really beautiful couple, and the Catholic wedding, so they got married in a Catholic church, very classic look. The groom was wearing a tux, the bride was wearing a beautiful dress, and they had a wedding party, and they got married in the Catholic church, and then they had a beautiful reception at Luminaire in Melbourne.
Oh, beautiful.
Just very classic white and green, very beautiful. And then the following week was so amazing. We created this Hindu lunchtime wedding for them at Butler Lane. Oh, cool. And it had all the elements of a typical Hindu wedding. So they had a ceremony. We had a Hindu priest come in, and he did this little fire under a mandap. So we got the mandap in, and these were all sort of things I'd never been exposed to. So, and the bride was so amazing. She had sent me this big email, and she, with all this terminology, and she had put a YouTube link under every single, element that had to be included on the day, just to say, this is what it looks like. And this is, if you want a little bit of an understanding of why it's important. And I loved that she was giving, I think it was the florist and myself, this cultural education, which was awesome, because I really wanted to get a good understanding of what we were creating and why. And I think the most special thing about that Hindu celebration was there is this ceremonial part before the actual ceremony itself, where the groom's family do a parade down the street. And,
oh my God, I love it.
So it's all of the groom's family, extended family. It has a name, but I can't think of it right now, the traditional name. And they're all singing and dancing down the street and celebrating him and bringing him to the ceremony.
Oh,
and
it was cool.
Oh, it was incredible. There were drums, there was music playing, and then all of his family was singing, and they were like his hype people. It was so great. And then he comes into the ceremony, and he's coming down the lane in Butler Lane, if anyone's ever been to Butler Lane. And his best friend's dancing with him, and he's just having the absolute time of his life.
Oh, that is great.
And the wonderful thing was they had actually already officially married the week before. So this particular wedding was just pure absolute color and celebration, and it was so vibrant. It was red, yellow, pink, orange, everything, and they just had the best time. And I felt, sometimes I find the videos of that on my phone, and I just feel so happy, because everyone was just so happy. So I absolutely love that.
Well, that's incredible. I always tell my clients, if they have a different cultural background, include those ceremonial parts, because it's so beautiful, and the education for your guests coming is incredible. I did a service recently with a Sri Lankan Purawa ceremony, and it was just beautiful, because otherwise, if you're not of Sri Lankan background, you have no insight into what that even looks like. And it is beautiful to include those things. And I think couples shy away from that. And I'm like, why? Like, it's your heritage, like, celebrate the differences and educate us, because it is so, so beautiful. Now, Jade, obviously not everybody can afford a planner or a stylist. Can you talk us through couples who are on a tight budget but still want a beautifully curated wedding? Can you give them some tips? What would you think is the most important thing to include?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to styling, but you might not be able to engage in the services of a stylist, I'd really recommend to try to put together a mood board if you can for yourself, or a collection, I guess, of images that you love, and try to work out a general color palette that you like for the day. And I would engage in your favorite florist. Um, I think when it comes to the aesthetics of your day, flowers are really, really key for me and for anyone who does appreciate fresh flowers. I think when you have stunning flowers, you don't need a whole lot to just enjoy, having like a beautiful tablescape, for example. Um, if you have a tight budget, just my recommendation is to actually establish what that budget is, and then allocate that out to what you can afford for flowers. If that's, for example, only $4,000 or whatever it is, whatever that means to you, to give that number to your florist along with images that you love so that you can really clearly communicate what you're loving and the budget to your florist, and ask them to make suggestions within your budget.
Pinterest
So
is
that you can, yeah. Pinterest is your friend, but also another one is to, I say to my couples, don't get too deep into Pinterest because it can lead you in places and you start dreaming about crazy things. And so sometimes I have to reel them back in and say, no, we're just going to stick to this plan because, I guess one of the benefits of having a stylist is we keep you to budget. I do track the budget and make suggestions within that. So even though sometimes having a stylist can be a little bit of an investment, I do actually say in the long run, we save you money because, I really do. I establish a budget with a couple and I really do respect their budget because a lot of the time my couples are building houses at the same time. They're planning a family. They're, hoping to go on holidays. So, it's really important that they or their family is, gifting them something in particular. So it's really important that we respect what they want to spend and not suggest crazy things, and that they're not dreaming of
yes, unattainable things. We all dream about unattainable things, but I get
all
it.
the time.
Pinterest.
All the time. We can window shop, but
yes,
just having an understanding of what things cost, because what a picture of a wedding in the US may not be the same cost as to what something is here in Australia.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's really great advice. And lastly, before we finish up, how far in advance should couples think about booking you?
Yeah, so I really recommend 12 months is a really good amount of time. But, I know that some couples are rushing to sometimes get married for, different reasons. It's the only time someone can make it to, overseas, or, a myriad of reasons. So usually we honestly, I could plan a wedding in 3 weeks for someone. Not that I suggest that, but always just reach out, whatever your time is. But I do recommend that 10 to 12 months is ideal, but we do book up to 18 months in advance.
And that's important to know, if you're going down the wedding planning process and you're reaching the end and you're completely overwhelmed, like, it's not too late to engage you. If you're 8 weeks out and you're losing your mind with stress, call Jade and say, hey, I'm actually not coping very well. What can you come in to do to mitigate the stress? That's so important for people to know that the option is there. Like, yes, the 18 months to 12 months is ideal, but if things happen down the road and you feel like you're out of your depth, it's not too late to ring you.
Yeah, definitely. And I do get some of those last minute clients, and sometimes they've been, absolutely amazing. The reason why I really love that 12-month time is not because we need 12 months to plan your wedding, but I like to allow the couple to just enjoy their time planning, not have for things not to be stressful. And I like to spend the time getting to know the couple as well. I've done some really wonderful weddings where someone has contacted me 3 months out and said, I'm really stressed, things are overwhelming. Exactly what you said, Karis, that, you know, they needed help. They've planned a lot of it, but they really just needed someone to come in and help them. But with that 3 months, it's not allowed me much time to really get to know them, sometimes even to meet, you know, the other partner in the relationship. So, and it's still been a wonderful wedding, but I think the best experience that you get when you do engage in a planner or a coordinator or a stylist is to just have that time to build that rapport, so that they can really, you know, do something really wonderful for you.
And that's one thing you're great at, is building that rapport. You're such a people person, and you know, it is so lovely to work with you, and I so appreciate your time and your expertise, and I'll definitely look you up when I come to WA.
Oh, you have to, yes.
I
I'll take you somewhere with a sea view.
Oh my God, I do love WA. But for our listeners out there, Jade can be found on the Best Wedding app. She also can be found on Instagram and her own website under The Modern Romantic. So look her up. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Thank
And
you,
thank
Karis.
you so much for your time. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.